So just as a reminder, the male group Q&A session is going to be October 1st next week. If you want more info, go to my community tab in my channel, or you can visit the website link below in the description box for Regal Change Academy. And then also we have the male and female group Q&A on October 7th. And if you want more information, click down in the link below on that same Regal Change Academy link. Now, with that being said, today's topic is why people come back into your life and why sometimes they come back when there's trouble. Sometimes they come back because they're lonely. Sometimes you're the one that leaves and you're the one that wants to go back because you realize you made a mistake. And maybe the grass wasn't greener on the other side like you thought. And this can happen where I know in my life, not just with narcissists, not just with females, but with family members as well, where it's not like you wanted to inflict any pain on this person, but you just couldn't handle or afford, rather, you couldn't afford to be in the situation to where your dignity and integrity was being disregarded. And you know what's crazy is sometimes these people don't even know that they are being disrespectful. Like, they really don't know, because we've been raised by grown infants in our society. We live in a world where most people, even people up to 90 years old, they do not have the wisdom that they should and that they need to have in order to go into death with peace. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't understand, is how to grant yourself compassion in certain kinds of instances. If you are not capable of giving yourself compassion, how do you expect to give anybody else compassion? And if you're not giving yourself compassion, how do you expect to be there for anybody else? You know, if you're not showing yourself respect, how do you expect to be there for anybody else? And a lot of the times, these people don't know what compassion even feels like. We're not taught about compassion in the modern day society. And I think it's a real misunderstanding, because compassion is, in my opinion, at least granting myself compassion, was the key to unlocking so much of my self-realization and spiritual potential. If it wasn't for giving myself compassion, I wouldn't be able to forgive myself. I wouldn't be able to love myself, because there was one point where it wasn't that I was super depressed on my spiritual journey. Like, I was suicidal when I was about 17, 18. And I was going through a lot. And I just felt as though it was just like life was handing me a big dish. Like, those dishes that, like in the olden days, where you can like lift off the metal lid and then there's this like beautiful plate. Well, instead, when I lifted off this metal top, all I saw was like rotten maggots and apples that were rotten, and I just saw like a bunch of rotten things, and I was like, what is this? What? This is what I have to deal with? You're kidding me. I can't do much with this. And I was right. I didn't want to be right, but I was right. I couldn't do much with that. And so I tried to do something with that for the next 2 or 3 years with the people around me, with the environment that I was in, with the people that I was with. And I couldn't do much with it, because there wasn't anything really to do with. Because when you're giving people your energy that are not actually interested in growing or understanding what you are trying to communicate, there's really no point in sticking around, because what you're doing is you're giving your light to a black hole. And I mean that metaphorically and spiritually. You are, because the narcissist, as I've mentioned in my other videos on narcissism, the narcissist is a black hole. It really is a black hole. And sure, there's going to be people that have made mistakes that don't really know that they're making the mistakes until it might be too late, and then they want to make the changes. And you can still make the changes, but you're not going to get what you thought. You're not going to get what you thought that you deserved. You're not going to get what you thought you could get. And humbling yourself and realizing that is going to place you on a better path for sure. And so anyway, when I was about 20, 21, 22 is when I started to realize, holy crap, I have to leave these people. Like, I have to leave these people behind, and I don't want to. I don't want to leave these people behind. These are the people that I've known my whole life. Like, I don't want to leave these people behind. But then again, what am I looking at? I can't do much with this. So I started planting my own seeds. I started tending to my own garden, so to speak, the garden of my mind and my soul. And I started to really dig at what I really wanted. Even though I wasn't sure, I just started trying stuff. I just started doing things because I wasn't exactly sure until my actual spiritual awakening with my dreams and such, where I had my spiritual awakening in the dreams that I had. And it wasn't until then when I started to realize the path that I truly wanted to go down. And of course, when I got to that point, I had to let them go for sure. I knew I could not move forward because I knew that they were not going where I'm going. And that sucked. That really sucked to realize. It sucked to realize that the people that you just want to give your heart to, they can't even receive that. They can't receive it. You have that thing to give them, but they're not even able to receive it because it just gets sucked away, and it just gets dried up and used somewhere that's not even useful. And so I had to make a choice, and I made that choice. Well, guess what? A couple of years later, my friends, certain family members, certain people in my life, certain women in my life started to come back. And there were certain reasons there were different reasons for different individuals, of course. And I would say there are a few red flags that I would like you guys to look out for when this happens. Number one is they're seeing that you're doing better in life and now they want in. No. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. If you weren't there for me when I was down, how do you expect me to trust you when I'm on my ascent? I'm moving up. I'm moving up because it was all me. It was all me. What have you done to help or wanting to help? You have not supported me. You have not joined me. So what? You think I just get to give you the fruits of my labor? All you gave me was the rotten fruit. There's no sustenance there. So what am I supposed to do? And I'm speaking again metaphorically there, but it's true. And I think the hardest thing to do is to keep an open heart. And I know that sounds cliche and kind of silly, but what exactly does that mean, to keep an open heart? It really means to remember to extend compassion to yourself in these kinds of situations. What is your best interest in this situation? What is in your best interest? Make yourself the point of mental origin for you. And a lot of the times, if you're on this spiritual path, if you are learning how to give yourself compassion, then you're going to have to learn how to extend that compassion that you want to continually give others to yourself first. If you don't, you're not going to be able to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. And so even to this day, you know, there's been women that I've seen years ago, and you know, they look at me now and their jaw drops when they see me. I mentioned this on a video like a month ago or something, when I saw that woman, and her jaw literally dropped when she saw me, because I had lost. She knew me at almost 200 pounds when I was a fucking beta male. Excuse my French there, but that's really what I was. And I was a beta male, and I was just this person that didn't know really what he wanted to do. I didn't have a lot of like supreme goals. I knew that I had ambition, but I didn't know where to place it. I had a lot of potential, but I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't really even trying to try. I wasn't really trying to try. And so that's something that changed, and it showed. And so when she saw me and her jaw dropped, and it was this, because she had treated me in a way that was not, how would you say? It was just not positive. Let's say that. It was just not positive. And so this person was a Jezebel. And now that they saw me like this God-fearing, righteous man, spiritually, they understood what was going on. Spiritually, they could see it. And they may not know consciously, but that's the case. And so if you have men or women, because to the women listening to this, the men that are coming back into your life, there's reasonable times to take them back, and there's reasonable times not to. And that's really up to your discretion. That's up to you. But I would say another red flag would be to just because, like when they come back to you because they just see you with someone else. It's almost like there are some women that I've had in my life that have rejected me like years ago. And then when I started talking to somebody new and they saw me by chance, like at college, well, well, you can't, like, if I can't have him, then no one can have him, was the kind of mentality that these women had. And it's just like, you said you did not want me. What's the big deal right now? Like, why are you don't want me to move on? You want me to just stay stuck on you because it makes you feel better? And that's the kind of egotistical things that if a man does this or if a woman does this, I would not recommend going back. Not at all, not in the slightest. Another one would be to notice that if they're in some trouble, if they got into some trouble, now they're coming back to you. It depends on the kind of trouble. It depends on the kind of trouble that they're in. It depends on the kind of things that are happening to them. If they're actually trying to make a difference, then I don't think that it's a bad thing to actually extend that compassion to them and show them some light. I don't think that's wrong at all. I think that's a very righteous thing to do. Because blessed are the poor in spirit, as the Bible says. Because they know, if you know that you're poor in spirit, if you know that you need God's salvation, and you know that someone else around you is the kind of person that can actually extend God's grace to you, maybe be a vessel of the ancestral father or of the ancestral mother, then that's a person that you can actually seek out to have that more closer relationship with God to, if you know you've messed up. But if they're just coming back to you because they've been in some trouble and they just need some help to use you, well, how do you know if they're just trying to use you or not? You have to be judicious. in how you extend your compassion then. You have to be absolutely crucial. This is something that Jordan Peterson's talked about with being judicious with compassion as well. Because if you're extending compassion to the people that are just sucking it away, that are like a vacuum, you're not going to help them. They're just trying to get something. If people around you are giving you something just so that they can get something, that's another red flag. That's another red flag. Don't take this person back if they're just trying to give you something to get something. I don't trust those people at all. The kinds of people that I trust are the people that are willingly giving freely of themselves. They are the overflowing cups of the world. They don't have anything specific in mind to try to take from you. Now, of course, if you got a business or something, like that's a different story. That's a different kind of thing. But even in relationships, even though it was and it is and can be considered business, in some sense, there's a certain threshold that isn't supposed to be passed and that shouldn't be passed. And if you do cross that threshold and they are unable to give you what you actually need, then it's not a good partnership. There's a compatibility issue, right? So if this is for the women out here, if you're looking for a relationship but the guy's just looking for sex, that's a compatibility issue. And you need to remain logical enough, because I know you women and your emotions can go everywhere. You need to remain logical enough to stay focused on what you actually want. What do you actually want? Do you want to be pumped and dumped? I hate that term, but that's it is what it is. Like, do you want to be pumped and dumped? And to the men out there, if you are looking for a pure woman, if you are looking for a righteous relationship, and the woman that you're with, maybe she's got a few red flags, but she shows some potential, maybe you can work with her, like, give it some time. But if you give it some time and the improvement is still not quite where you want it to be, you're going to have to let that go, because there's a compatibility issue. And believe me, compatibility trumps attraction every single time in any kind of relationship, whether it's business, whatever, significant other, whatever it is. Compatibility will always trump attraction. You can be super attracted to this person, but if you're not compatible, the relationship will not last. It just won't. And I've seen and gone through enough relationships, specifically with like family and friends and women that I've dealt with in the past. Like, I'm to the point now to where if I have to be alone the rest of my life, God forbid, but so, like, if it's in the accordance to the Most High's will, so be it. But that's not the life that I really want. It's not the life that I really feel as though I deserve. But you have to get to the point to where you can accept that, if that's the case. And that's how you transcend that. That's how you're able to transcend everything, and you actually liberate yourself from that past negative reaping and sowing of what you've gone through. Something that Sadhguru has said recently is, let your karma be a stepping stone in liberation. And I know a lot of people have some quarrels with Sadhguru because he's a mystic per se, but again, I think he has a lot of interesting things to say. I don't take everything he says I do take everything he says to heart, but I don't take everything he says without a few grains of salt, because I make sure that I understand the psychological and the scientific as well as the spiritual, because I believe in a solid balance between the two. I think psychology and spirituality is actually more related than any other branch of science or history or any kind of anthropological study at all either. I think psychology and spirituality are going to be the key to the future in awakening the individuals to their spirituality. But with that being said, when Sadhguru says, let your karma be your stepping stone, what he means is let those negative experiences of your past change you for the better. Don't let it change your heart. Don't let it harden your heart. Don't let those people that have done you wrong harden your heart and turn your heart cold. There's a verse in the Bible that says, like the world is waxed cold, something like that. The world will be waxed cold. Somebody put that scripture in the comment section if you know it, but it's essentially, if I'm going to paraphrase the scripture, that there's going to be a time where the world will become so, like, it's going to be like this dark age of fatherlessness. And in that dark age of fatherlessness is going to be a lot of deception. It's going to be a lot of hardened hearts, stiff necks, stone throwers for no reason. But remain open to giving yourself compassion and remain open to understanding what is in your best self-interest, whether you're male or female. But always remember that do what's right first, if it is also in accordance to your own best self-interest. Do what's right insofar as, how can I phrase this? Do what's right insofar as the mechanism for righteousness is based upon the precondition of not only your own best self-interest, but for the greater good of humanity and for all life to give reverence to. Something like that, I would say. And so I think we're going to cut the video off there. But that's one of the things that, well, a few of the things that you guys just need to look out for when people try to come back. The reasons why they try to come back into your life. And so, peace be with you. Till next time.